Many people think that life ends at death. But death is only the beginning.
What is it that you think we do here?
It involves helping people, and I'd be good at that.
Why should I consider you?
Because I won't quit.
Hello and welcome to the Matt's Movie Reviews podcast. I'm your host, Matthew Pejkovic, and this is episode number 201. Available on DVD and video on demand on March 26 is We Are Boats, a stirring drama that stars Angela Sarafyan as a spirit who returns to the land of the living to help those either find a course to happiness or cross over to the other side. Featuring an all-star cast in a stirring spirit at its core, We Are Boats is a touching drama about how our need for connection goes beyond this mortal realm. Joining me now to talk about We Are Boats is the film's writer and director, James Bird. James, I thank you very much for joining me on the podcast.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Now, this is such an interesting story. I'm really curious, what is the genesis for this film?
It actually started, so I'm not sure if you know, but this is like the first cruelty-free film ever made. Mm-hmm. It's the first vegan film made. So when I first wrote the script, all the characters were initially animals. And so it was like a, cow, chicken, dog. And as I kept writing, I wanted to show, how people and animals are so related. And so I started changing the characters from chicken to, Rachel, and gave them like human names, human problems. And that's how the story turned out to be a human story, all based on first animal impressions.
The character of Francesca, played by Angela Sarafyan, is really kind of interesting. It almost seems like very much an ethereal figure, but a human figure at the same time. And it's like dual roles she has there. On one end, seems like kind of like an angel. On the other end, kind of like a grim reaper. Both things happening there. When you put together this character, when you transition from animal to human, and you put these other elements in there as well. And actually, I just want to talk about the whole kind of concept of your version of what is essentially an afterlife in your movie. When you do all these things, what are you drawing inspiration from? What rules or philosophies are you establishing in this world that you have that kind of has this mark on all the characters in your movie?
Right, so I'm a Native American. I'm Ojibwe, and so they believe that when someone dies, say one of your relatives dies, they can be reborn into the life of an animal or the life of another person, another baby, and that the rule of philosophy is to treat everyone you meet and every living being like it's your family, because you don't want to go and inflict harm on an animal for fun or sport when that animal could be the next version of your grandma. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of how it starts. It's basically trying to teach everyone that even though there's a stranger, even though you don't know them, you actually do. You're connected to that person in so many ways that you don't even know until you actually make the effort to speak to them and to get to know them, and then you'll see how we're all connected.
There are so many different characters in this movie, and they're all interlinked through Francesca. When it comes to casting that role, how did you know that Angela was the person that you wanted to portray this character? What was it about her that kind of brought the elements needed to bring this character to life?
So when we first started casting, I didn't use a casting director. I just casted the whole thing myself. And Angela was actually a different character. I casted her as someone that just was there for 2 days. And we had someone else cast as the main one. And she got a Marvel movie and had to bow out of ours because something about the Marvel contract. And so we had about maybe a week or two before filming. So I met with Angela again, and I talked to her about, the lead role. And we had a nice lunch conversation about it, and then the next day she was like, "Yeah, let's do it."
Another person who stars in the film is a fellow Australian, Luke Hemsworth. Both Luke and Angela both appear in the Westworld TV series. Is that just coincidence that they're both come from like the same place where a lot of people know them for, that they happen to appear in your movie?
Yeah, that was actually pure coincidence because I think we had Luke first, and I met him just through a random friend on a different movie set, and he was like, "Hey, my buddy Luke, he'd be great in this." And I sent Luke the script and met with him, and he loved it. Yeah, and it's crazy because the Westworld connection, and then we filmed 2 or 3 days on the Westworld set in Malibu. Yeah, and then right after our filming, the California fires, the set burnt down. Wow,
that would have been something really intense right there. Going through something like that with, especially coming from, you're trying to put together a production, Cruelty-Free, etc., and then being hit with something like that where it shows nature's fury and such. What was that kind of impact like on filming?
Yeah, so our filming was all spared. It was all great. It was before the fires.
Okay.
Yeah, we found out after that the places, like 3 of the places that we filmed were all burnt down, which was pretty sad. I think Luke Hemsworth's house actually was burnt down too.
Wow. I mean, how long ago was that now, those fires? Was that about a year ago, or was it earlier this year?
I know they were spread out a little bit, but yeah, the first one, the big one, was about a year ago.
Wow. Yeah. I want to talk about some of the other cast in your film. One person that you have in your film is a actor we've seen for decades, and that's Graham Greene. I mean, we've seen all the way back, Dancing with Wolves, Green Mile, so many films in there. What's it like working with him? Because I think that he's one of those actors who, hands down, has to be one of the most recognizable faces you see in a film. He's done so much work. He's such a great character. He's got great charisma. What was it like working with Graham in your movie?
This is actually the second time I got to work with him.
Excellent.
Yeah. The first one was back in 2012, and I just sent him an email for this script and said, "Hey, do you want to be in this? Let me know right away." He read it, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm in." So he's kind of, he's a really big guy and very recognizable, but all he does is play jokes and pranks on people. He's just super funny, nonstop.
What does that approach that he has towards his work, towards life, do for you as a young director on a movie set? I mean, sometimes you can have a really kind of a big actor or a known actor. Perhaps it could go the other way. When he comes to a movie set and is just so full of life and full of joy, how does that kind of help you do your job, and how does it help everyone else get at ease with their performances as well?
Yeah, everyone was pretty excited about him. He was, a legend, and I'm Native American, so I was really, really happy to get another big, Native American player in the movie. And it's really weird because he lives in Canada. So the first movie I did with him, we filmed, and then I never saw him again. I just kept in contact with him through email. Mm-hmm. This one, he actually came out to. We played at the Orlando Film Festival, and he came out, and he, I sat with him and we watched the movie, and I got to see him cry. I got to see him on stage doing the Q&A, and he was just crying. So it was really cool.
That does sound really cool, because Graham is just like I said, just one of those actors. Everyone kind of knows him. Even if they don't know his name, they know his work because they see him in so many things. I'm really curious in regards to looking back at your filmography, especially as a director. You had 2 films previously to this, Eat Spirit Eat and Honey Glue. When I look at those films and when I look at We Are Boats, it seems to me that a lot of these films are about connection, some sort of connection between different people. And I'm just curious, is that something that really drives your storytelling? The connection between sometimes even strangers, like Honey Glue was definitely a movie that's about 2 different strangers from 2 different parts of life coming together. That film also deals with death in a certain way as well as the one does. What do those things mean to you, and how do they kind of drive your storytelling?
Yeah, I mean, I think, outside of movies, it's so easy to see no matter where you are, how disconnected people are, and how, and not only from people just staring at their phones all the time, just, it used to, when I was a little kid, people, if you're stuck in the same room with people, everyone would be talking. Now, if you go to like the DMV or a mall or school, nobody talks to each other. And that, I think that only harms you as a person and everyone else, because we don't learn anything and we don't adapt and we don't, have tolerance and open our minds. So every film is kind of my attempt to make sure you look to your left or right and say hi to someone you don't know.
Does that also drive you as a person, as a filmmaker? I mean, there's a line in your movie about either stepping forward or stepping back, taking that plunge and accepting something new, or staying where you are and being kind of like stuck in the kind of malaise with your life. When it comes to that stepping forward, stepping back, does that really influence you as a filmmaker, as a person as well, to be willing to go forward and try different things and do new ventures?
Yeah, I mean, the way I grew up, I failed many, many times. I'm not afraid of failing, so I have that advantage for me. I know what failing's like, and everyone thinks it stops you. It doesn't. It just momentarily pauses you. And so the only thing you have to do is, the only way to move forward is to move forward. So, step forward or step back. There's way too many people in this world that choose to step back because they're afraid if they step forward, they'll fall, or someone else will be there. But, I've learned my whole entire life that there's no one on earth that was born to stop you except for you. You're the only one that can stop you. So you keep stepping forward and, you're going to end up pretty far.
I want to talk to you, James, about movies in regards to how people consume them. I've talked to other filmmakers in regards to different distribution methods these days. Usually it was the traditional way, cinema, video, maybe TV. Now you have all these different options, streaming being a big one. Your movie's coming out via video on demand on March 26th for everyone to see. When we're talking about connection, shared experiences, one of the things about films is that it brings people together, usually in the one room. They share an experience of watching a content on screen, and usually they can take something from the screen, and that is a communal thing. Do you think, as a filmmaker, what do you think of streaming as a kind of communal aspect? Is it something that is good for movies? Does that mean more people are watching your film, or does the fact that people are watching a film on a device, maybe at home or on the bus, etc., take away from that communal experience of watching a movie together in the one room as moviegoers at a cinema?
Yeah, it's really hard because I think like some streaming is really good for you. Like, if it goes to Netflix, then everyone immediately has access to it, and it's millions of people all at once. So it's kind of like a community, everyone in their own separate movie theater that, along with social media, everyone's talking about it. Like I watched all the responses from Bird Box, like that became, what everyone was talking about for the first couple of days. That only helps the film. But it is scary, when theaters aren't as much of a, player and everything is streaming and VOD. That the scary thing is people have extra steps to go find your movie. They have to search. First they have to hear from it, and that's marketing. Then they have to search for it. Once they find it, then they, rent it or buy it. And then you got to hope that people still have the attention span to sit and watch the movie, because so many movies are, I was reading something and they're saying most movies are watched by, when they're playing, someone's on their phone in bed just checking, Facebook and Instagram. So it's out of your hands at that point. In a theater, everyone's forced to, sit together and share this experience. So you just gotta hope that still resonates a little bit.
At the start of our conversation, you spoke about how We Are Both's first cruelty-free production. When did the decision come to that you wanted to do an all-vegan set? Was that something that you were thinking about doing for a while now, didn't have the resources to do, and you could at this time? Explain to me the decision as to how you wanted to come to do that, do your production this way with this movie.
Yeah, at first I didn't even know if it existed or if it was even possible. And I wanted to do it because the whole movie is about compassion, compassion for strangers and compassion for people going through stuff. And it felt very hypocritical to, if we're going to, I'm going to devote a year or and a half to this film about compassion, then, at lunchtime, everyone goes and eats a bunch of dead animals that had no say in the matter and, no chance at life. So I stuck to my guns there. I was like, we're going to do this. And then the hair and makeup and wardrobe all loved the idea, and they all jumped on board. And so it became a really, really good challenge to see if we can do it. And it actually turned out to be a lot easier than we thought.
See, that part's really interesting to me, because you would think that maybe it might be difficult finding the resources to put it all together. But you're saying to me now that there are choices out there for people to go this way and put together a production, which I'm sure in your part was a very limited in funding, because this is an indie film. You can do this, it can be done, you just have to put the work in.
Yeah, and so we had PETA and Live Kindly and Veg News all post about our film being, the first cruelty-free film. And then they sent me a couple articles saying about how James Cameron Avatar, which is like the biggest budget you can get, which is a huge studio movie, is all the sequels. I think there's 3 or 4 of them. They're all going to be vegan sets. So I hope this trend, stays course.
And I hope everyone remembers that when news breaks out that James Cameron's doing this, they go back to you and remember that James Bird was the first one to start it as well. When you have a all-vegan set, a cruelty-free set, what does that do to the overall mood of a production set? Are people aware of this beforehand? Is this something they come to eventually realise is happening? I mean, what's the overall kind of feeling amongst your cast and crew that, yes, this is happening and yes, we are doing this?
Everyone knew beforehand. We told everyone. Not a lot of people knew what that actually meant. So the biggest takeaway was the crew, are usually a bunch of, big, strong men, construction, built. And so they were kind of like, I don't know about this. I don't know. At lunch, I'll probably just go get a burger or something. And the weirdest thing is how they all, by the end of the filming, were all like, I can't believe how much energy I have. Usually after I eat, I want to take a nap for the rest of the day, or, I feel bloated. And these people were all like, I feel great. I feel like I could work more. So it actually was a huge, weight off everyone's shoulders, because we thought we would get a lot of pushback, but a lot of people were like loving it, saying like, I want to try the vegan chicken. I want to try the vegan beef. I want to try, the vegan turkey. Everything became this really, really cool thing that no one expected, especially from like the big hairy men.
Well, I think that's another great example of people stepping forward and not stepping back, and I encourage everyone to step forward and watch We Are Boats when it comes out DVD and video on demand on March 26. Really stirring filmmaking. James Burke, congratulations to you. This is your 3rd feature film as a director, is this correct?
Yes.
Yes, and I think you've just gone from strength to strength with your work. Moving forward, all vegan sets, is that something you're going to have as a permanent fixture in your productions from now on?
Oh yeah, that's the plan, and hopefully it just becomes, very common. So
we've James Cameron on board now with the Avatar sequels doing the same. I think it is. I think you're establishing a really cool trend there that a lot of people are really going to get behind. So James Burke, congratulations to you on that, and also congratulations with We Are Boats, and thank you very much for joining me today.
Thank you.